Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R CBS Spoiler Today channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In the ever turbulent, absolutely chaotic world of the young and the restless, we are currently witnessing something truly spectacular and genuinely terrifying unfold right before our eyes. If you have been watching this show as long as I have, you know that few alliances in the entire history of Genoa City are as incredibly volatile, deeply seductive, and downright dangerous as the one currently forming once again between the brilliant Phyllis Summers and the deeply wounded Kane Ashby. This is a highly complex pairing that fundamentally thrives on sheer chaos just as much as it feeds on their massive mutual ambition. The deeply unresolved physical attraction and a completely shared, ravenous hunger for absolute revenge. And guys, we have to understand that this isn't just any standard run of the mill revenge plot. This brutal, calculated vengeance is aimed squarely at the undisputed heavyweight champion of the city himself, the formidable, untouchable Victor Newman. Victor's massive, intimidating shadow has always loomed incredibly large over this town, constantly dictating lives and ruining futures from behind his desk, but his recent highly manipulative schemes have once again ignited a massive, uncontrollable firestorm. This is a fire that genuinely threatens to spiral far, far beyond anyone's ability to control or contain it, threatening to completely burn down decades of carefully built reputations and fragile relationships alike. Today we are going to dive incredibly deep into exactly how Phyllis actively uses every single ounce of her signature confidence and calculated provocation to seamlessly pull Kane back into her dangerous web. We're completely unpacking the devastating, heartbreaking emotional fallout from Lily Winter's massive betrayal, a deception so deep and so twisted that it left Kane legitimately believing his own precious children were in grave imminent danger. We will also look closely at the explosive April 8 spoilers that reveal a jaw-dropping, highly tempting proposition from Phyllis that dangerously mixes both corporate business and immense personal pleasure. Most importantly, we are going to thoroughly dissect the monumental, terrifying decision Kane makes when he directly, forcefully orders Holden Novak to physically target Victor. Buckle up, my friends, because Genoa City is about to be rocked to its absolute core. Let's really take our time to set the scene and talk extensively about exactly what is going down as Phyllis Summers makes her grand, highly anticipated re-entry into Kane Ashby's incredibly chaotic and fractured orbit. Phyllis, as we all know from years of watching her operate, never does anything by accident or simply by chance. As she re-enters Kane's orbit with her signature intoxicating blend of total, unshakable confidence and highly calculated provocation, she wastes absolutely no time getting right down to the painful, gritty truth of the matter. She immediately, almost surgically, starts reminding him of the complete and utter emotional devastation that was so callously caused by Lily Winters. I can't even believe Lily had the nerve to do what she did. And Phyllis is making sure Kane doesn't forget it either. She points out Lily's shocking involvement in Victor's incredibly elaborate, twisted deception, one that actually led Kane to truly believe, with every single fiber of his being, that she and their precious children were in grave, life-threatening danger. Imagine how he felt in those terrifying moments. Those actions left wounds on Kane's soul that are still incredibly raw, still heavily bleeding, and still more than capable of driving Kane toward making some truly dark, highly desperate decisions that he might not otherwise ever make. Phyllis, ever the ultimate opportunist in Genoa City, sees those deep, gaping wounds not as something to delicately heal, but as prime, incredibly valuable leverage to entirely exploit for her own gain. She is gently yet so incredibly persistently nudging Kane toward a very specific, carefully constructed conclusion. She desperately wants him to believe that Lily's ultimate, carefully constructed conclusion. She desperately wants him to believe that Lily's ultimate, unforgivable betrayal has actually freed him rather than broken him. She's relentlessly pushing this narrative that he is no longer bound by the suffocating, heavy expectations of a relationship that once completely defined him. She brilliantly weaves this seductive wave, suggesting that perhaps, just perhaps, the brand new wide open future he would be actively embracing is one that prominently includes her instead. And she means this both in high stakes business and in deep passionate pleasure. She delivers this massive proposition with a stakes business and in deep passionate pleasure. She delivers this massive proposition with a highly knowing smile and a dangerous glint of mischief in her eyes that strongly suggests she is already several complex steps ahead in a deeply dangerous game that Kane is only just beginning to realize he's playing. Yet beneath all this heavy flirtation and the tantalizing promise of rekindled passion, there lies a far more dangerous, incredibly dark undercurrent. Phyllis is not simply seeking some casual companionship or even a fleeting romance. She's actively seeking a powerful alignment, a rock-solid partnership rooted deeply in their shared vendettas and massive mutual benefit. Her brilliant pitch to Kane is just as flawlessly strategic as it is intensely seductive. She's graciously offering him not only an escape from the unbearable pain Lily caused, but also a clear pathway to aggressively reclaim his power by striking back at Victor. Victor is a man who has severely wronged them both in ways that cut straight to the bone. From manipulating Kane's personal life to completely deceiving Phyllis into unnecessarily relinquishing her hard-earned control of Chancellor Industries, a massive loss that still violently stings and heavily fuels her desire for absolute retribution. Victor has made himself their ultimate target. And so, as she lays out the exciting possibility of joining forces once more, she masterfully frames it as a golden opportunity that is simply too good to ever ignore. It is their grand chance to turn the tables, to seize total control, and to loudly remind Victor that even he is not untouchable. Phyllis Summers will have another intense encounter with Kane Ashby, so that will undoubtedly bring even more palpable tension between them. Phyllis always without fail manages to push Kane's button perfectly, especially on the highly sensitive topic of Lily Winters. Now that Phyllis has officially faced off with Lily following her dramatic return to generosity, she may actively mention that confrontation to Kane. Phyllis might loudly point out that she proudly stood up for Kane, firmly stating that it was completely wrong for Lily to carry out such a horrible twisted ruse against her own family. Kane was worried out of his absolute mind when he thought Lily and the twins were truly physically being held hostage. Since Lily knowingly went along with Victor Newman's sick plan, Kane has completely washed his hands of her. Phyllis may strongly insist that this exact outcome is actually for the best and suggests they have a brand new, exciting opportunity now that Lily's finally out of his system. On April 8, the Y&R spoilers say Phyllis will confidently deliver a tempting proposal and hope for good news in return. That could easily lead to some serious double trouble if Phyllis fully wants to mix cutthroat business with intimate pleasure again. Phyllis might try to seductively lure Kane back to her bed and strongly remind him that he absolutely doesn't have to worry about Lily's judgmental reaction anymore. Kane is a completely free man, able to do whatever he wants without fear that Lily is going to disapprove or judge him. Since Kane is fiercely determined to get sweet revenge on Victor, Phyllis may smoothly suggest she could help with that too. Victor cruelly tricked Phyllis into signing Chancellor back over to him unnecessarily, so she might desperately want a little payback of her own against the mustache. Phyllis might boldly contend that when it absolutely comes to revenge on Victor, he can truly never get too much. Although Phyllis already got a massive, historic dose of vengeance when she famously stole the Newman Empire right out from under him. We all know she would take great intoxicating pleasure in causing another massive round of sheer chaos. If it actively helps Kane get some deeply needed sense of personal satisfaction and emotional closure, then Phyllis might insist she would be all for that, 100%. Whatever the case may be, Phyllis will have a highly tense, emotionally charged exchange with Kane at the GCSE bar, but she will strongly hope they can get their chaotic alliance back on track. Since Phyllis will offer up some serious, undeniable temptation, she may strongly insist they could seamlessly collaborate in the corporate business world and in the bedroom once more. There is absolutely no guarantee Kane will quickly agree to the idea, but let's be real, that definitely won't stop Phyllis from trying her hardest. However, what makes this currently unfolding situation truly unimaginably explosive is not merely the tantalizing idea of Phyllis and Kane working together again, but the highly concerning timing and the frightening intensity of Kane's current state of mind, because while Phyllis is being incredibly calculating and highly deliberate with her moves, Kane is sitting there physically simmering with a raw, dangerous anger and a blinding need for closure that borders on sheer recklessness. This already volatile, incredibly dangerous combination becomes even more deeply concerning when he boldly takes a decisive step that fundamentally, permanently alters the nature of his feud with Victor. Kane actually chooses to bravely escalate matters in a way that entirely removes any remaining buffer between his dark intentions and his real world actions by officially instructing Holden Novak to directly target Victor. He makes a move that signals a dramatic, terrifying shift from strategic, behind the scenes maneuvering to outright physical confrontation. This is a bold move that carries with it severe consequences that simply cannot be easily predicted or contained by anyone. In giving that order, that the path he is actively choosing he will be ugly, a highly telling admission that deeply underscores his full awareness of the line he is crossing and the massive, devastating fallout that may follow. This monumental decision marks a massive turning point not only in Kane's own personal journey, but in the much broader power dynamics of all of Genoa City. It permanently transformed what was once a calculated, manageable rivalry into a wildly dangerous and utterly unpredictable conflict. This is a new world where the usual rules no longer apply and where each bold move has the terrifying potential to trigger a massive chain reaction that could entirely engulf everyone involved, including those innocent bystanders who may have believed themselves safely on the sidelines. It is precisely this massive escalation that makes Phyllis' deep involvement so incredibly compelling and so profoundly concerning. While she may happily present herself as a loyal ally, a strong partner completely willing to stand bravely beside Kane as he takes on the giant that is Victor, her true motivations are intensely layered and complex. She is heavily driven by her own deep grievances and her burning desire to reclaim what she firmly believes was unjustly taken from her. In agilely aligning herself with Kane at this highly critical juncture, she is effectively pouring a bucket of gasoline on an already raging fire. She is amplifying the stakes and drastically increasing the likelihood that the entire situation will spiral completely beyond anyone's control. Moreover, Phyllis' unique approach to revenge is rarely, if ever, straightforward. It almost always involves incredibly intricate schemes, deep emotional manipulation, and a terrifying willingness to fully embrace chaos if it serves her grand endgame. As she softly encourages Kane to fully embrace his anger and aggressively channel it into action, she is also subtly positioning herself as an absolutely indispensable part of his master plan. She wants to be someone who can offer not only unmatched strategy but also a profound sense of emotional validation that he may be desperately craving in the dark aftermath of Lily's betrayal. This creates a deeply dangerous psychological feedback loop, where Kane's desperate desire for vengeance actively fuels Phyllis' ambitions, and Phyllis' constant encouragement pushes Kane further down a dark path that becomes increasingly difficult to ever reverse. At the exact same time, the terrifying, dooming presence of Victor simply cannot be underestimated or ignored for a second. Victor is famously not a man who responds passively to threats, especially not ones as direct and personal as the move Kane has just recklessly set in motion. While Kane may arrogantly believe he is seizing control of the narrative by dictating the rapid pace of the conflict, the cold reality is that he has actively invited a level of brutal retaliation that could be swift, severe, and utterly devastating. This backlash won't just hit Kane, it could destroy anyone caught in the crossfire, heavily including Phyllis. Her complicated history with Victor is fraught with deep tension, brutal betrayal, and a constant battle for dominance. She may quickly find that her blinding eagerness to strike back actively places her. The lines between ally and adversary may permanently blur. True trust may become a highly rare and fragile commodity, and the massive consequences of each decision may ripple outward in ways that entirely reshape relationships, redefine sacred loyalties, and permanently alter the delicate balance of power in generosity. This is clearly not just another chapter in an ongoing feud, but a pivotal moment that could have lasting repercussions for everyone as viewers watch Phyllis and Kane navigate this treacherous terrain, balancing deep temptation with strategy and wild passion with ambition and blind revenge with risk. The real question remains not whether their alliance will have an impact, but exactly how far they are willing to go. What are they truly willing to sacrifice in order to achieve the ultimate satisfaction they so desperately seek? Because in a dark world where absolute power is everything and painful betrayal is always just around the corner, the high cost of revenge is rarely what it actually seems, and the terrible consequences are often far greater than anyone could have ever imagined. Kane boldly escalated the feud by targeting Victor directly, forcing a massive response he simply may not be able to control. Kane made the definitive move that violently shifted this feud into something far more dangerous. By actively ordering Holden to target Victor, he entirely removed any remaining distance between quiet strategy and physical action. This officially stopped being about petty power plays and instantly became a direct physical confrontation. Kane made a highly deliberate, conscious choice to escalate. He didn't just hint, casually suggest, or aggressively posture. He looked Holden in the eye and gave him a crystal clear directive to go after Victor, loudly signaling that this was absolutely no longer about maneuvering safely behind the scenes. The specific language he used truly mattered. Kane openly acknowledged the move would be ugly, which means he understood exactly what kind of terrifying line he was crossing. This wasn't a calculated business play. It was a firm decision to violently apply pressure in a way that absolutely forces a response. By purposefully putting Holden in that dangerous position, Kane created a tiny bit of distance for himself while still aggressively ensuring the move would be carried out. But let's be real, that slight separation absolutely doesn't reduce the massive impact. It actually heavily reinforces exactly how incredibly intentional the escalation truly was. This singular moment completely broke the very structure the feud had been safely operating within. Up to this point, the conflict relied on careful strategy, subtle manipulation, and highly controlled retaliation. Kane violently removed that protective layer, ordering a direct physical move on Victor introduced a terrifying level of unpredictability that simply can't be managed the same way. It forces Victor to aggressively respond to something immediate rather than something he can carefully anticipate and counter in advance. It also entirely redefined Kane's role in the story. He permanently stopped reacting to Victor and confidently started dictating the pace of the conflict himself. That massive psychological shift made him a far more immediate, highly serious threat. Once Kane gave that fateful order, the situation instantly stopped being contained. Victor isn't someone who absorbs heavy pressure quietly. A direct risk sits. Kane boldly initiated the action, but he absolutely doesn't control how far it goes. Once Victor finally responds, the bold move actively creates a runaway momentum that simply cannot easily be redirected. This wasn't just another minor step in the feud. It was a massive shift in exactly how the feud operates. Kane didn't just escalate things, he completely changed the entire level of the game. As the unbelievable tension continues to exponentially build in The Young and the Restless, the massive implications of this renewed alliance between Phyllis and Kane stretch far beyond a simple, petty revenge plot. It is rapidly evolving instead into a deeply layered psychological battle where raw emotion, fragile ego, and immense power violently collide in increasingly unpredictable ways. This is especially true as Kane begins to feel the highly intoxicating pull of taking control after spending so incredibly long barely reacting to the brilliant manipulations of Victor. Victor has built his massive empire on anticipating others' moves and completely crushing opposition before it can fully form. Yet this time the old rules are rapidly shifting. Kane's decision to act Holden Novak introduces a massive wildcard element that even the great Victor may genuinely struggle to immediately neutralize. This creates a dangerous delay in response that could easily allow Kane and Phyllis to successfully gain some temporary ground. That fleeting advantage may be absolutely all Phyllis ever needs to flawlessly execute a much deeper, highly intricate scheme that extends far beyond simple retaliation and boldly ventures into the ambitious territory of long-term power restructuring within Genoa City's elite circles. At the exact time, Phyllis' masterful ability to blur personal and professional boundaries become increasingly glaringly evident. Her persistent attempts to aggressively lure Kane back into a messy romantic entanglement are not merely about pure desire, but about total control. She wants to ensure that their partnership is bound not just by mutual goals but by a deep emotional dependency, which would make it infinitely more difficult for Kane to ever pull away brilliant dual game, offering warm comfort and validation on one hand while subtly forcefully tightening her icy grip on Kane's decision making process on the other. It is a highly effective strategy, but one that carries massive risk when applied to someone as volatile and wounded as Kane. Meanwhile, the physical absence of Lily Winters from Kane's immediate emotional landscape absolutely does not mean her powerful influence has vanished. The agonizing pain of her betrayal continues to deeply reshape his choices, aggressively driving him to prove that he is absolutely no longer vulnerable or easily manipulated. This burning need for self-assertion pushes him farther into Phyllis' dark orbit, where this blinding anger is actively encouraged. And here's the part that really lingers. This isn't just about revenge anymore, it's about identity. Because when someone like Kane starts choosing power over peace, you have to wonder if he's winning or slowly losing himself. And honestly, that's where the story hits deeper than usual. Because Phyllis isn't just offering him a plan, she's offering him a version of himself that thrives in chaos. But is that who he truly wants to become? Or just who he feels is forced to be right now? I will say this, in my opinion, Phyllis may think she's controlling the game, but she's also underestimating how unpredictable Kane has become. And that's dangerous. Because when two people driven by pain start calling the shots, logic disappears and consequences don't wait. So now the real question is, when Victor strikes back and who takes the hit first? And even more importantly, will Kane realize too late that he's become exactly what he once hated? Or will Phyllis be the one caught off guard, thinking she's playing him while he's already rewriting the rules? Looking ahead, don't be surprised if the alliance cracks under pressure, because partnership built on